Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. What is going on, everybody? What's going on? This is Polo. I'm off school today. No classes. So I'm ready to talk some boxing and other sports if necessary. It's it's been it's been some time, almost a week and a couple of days since everybody's heard from me. Well, not like really heard from me, but on this interwebs heard from me. I'm not avoiding y'all. I'm not avoiding smoke. I'm not avoiding any of that. It's just life. Life happens. Things happen. Responsibilities happen. Things that we have to take care of as adults pop up. And you have to deal with them. No matter what it is, how big or small it is, you have to deal with them. And sometimes that takes being absent, being absent physically, but not, mentally or spiritually or, being there to support. It's it's some stuff that goes on behind closed doors or however you want to call it or whatnot that it puts things in perspective for you. Like everybody knows about my situation with my daughter and everything. I had went out of town to see my grandmother for her birthday and all this different type of stuff. I took my boys with me. My daughter couldn't come because she had open heart surgery. Cool, fine, good. And I was worried about some things that I noticed over last week or so, and it just grabbed my attention even more that my focus has kind of been off. I've been focusing on a lot of other things and not really putting focus into the certain things that I've been putting my focus in that have really elevated me to this place that I've wanted to be in life. So always remember, focus on the things that will change your life. Focus on the things that will improve your life. Focus on the things that matter in life. All right. With all that out the way, let's get into it. Terrence Crawford. Is 168 really the goal? Is 168 the dream? I get it. Everybody is lining up and doing what they got to do to try and put themselves in position to get a Canelo Alvarez fight. But is it worth it? Is fighting at 168 worth it for a Canelo fight? Like, I granted it's a payday. It is a payday. And I will never dispute that for any boxer who wants to get out there and try his luck and dare to be great. But let's look at Canelo as a blueprint also. There's nothing wrong with challenging yourself. There's nothing wrong with daring to be great. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But to go from 140, 147, possibly skip 154 all the way, possibly skip 160 all the way, and then go to 168. How is that conducive to your legacy? How is that conducive to your health? Because you probably walk around about 165, 168. So training can't, like, I don't think that you could, I don't know. I don't know. It's been so long since I've been on the apron and all that different type of stuff. So I couldn't tell you how, it could affect your body. I can't tell you how it would make you feel. I can't. Is daring to be great a good thing for the sport? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But the aftermath, you're gonna put like an extremely comfortable Canelo Alvarez in the ring with a Terrence Crawford who's fought at 140 and 147. Like I said, possibly skipping 154. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I don't think that I don't think that this is a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing for the sport of boxing, so to say. That's kind of a contradiction. Let me change that. I think it's a good thing for the sport of boxing because we get to see the fighters who we want to see fight actually fight. It's almost like fantasy boxing. You know how we have the whole fantasy football, baseball, basketball situation. It's just almost going to be playing out in real life, and I think that's cool. I really do. I appreciate it. I think that shit is cool. I think that's awesome. I think that's something that gets the fan pumped up and gets the fan motivated to want to see the sport. Because at the end of the day, it's about drawing eyes to the sport. And I believe that's part of the way to fix the shenanigans or fix the stagnation in boxing. That's part of it. Moving on. Andy Ruiz is basically begging. He's begging for a Deontay Wilder fight. He's being active. He's calling him out. He's doing all this. He's doing all that. Why are people ignoring this guy? Why are people acting like Andy Ruiz is just some run of the mill tomato can that can just be kicked down the road? He's a former world champion. I'm willing to give him his respect for that. I don't know too many other people who are willing to give him his respect for being a former world champion. He did beat Anthony Joshua. Matter of fact, he was the first to beat Anthony Joshua. So let's not act like this man doesn't deserve a level of respect. True enough, he didn't respect the game. He fell into the traps. He fell into the complacency of, I'm the world champ. Let me just live my life. Instead of thinking about, I'm the world champion. Let me take this shit a little bit more serious because people are going to be gunning for me. People are going to be out for my head. All that is true. All of that is true. But it's still also true that that man is a former world champion. And I think it's about time that, a lot of these boxing pundits and these boxing analyzers, whatever you want to call them, and then boxing YouTube recognizes that. Give Andy his respect. Because if you don't give him his respect, what was the point of even being a champion? What was the point of even, going through the trials and tribulations to become a champion? And true enough, that can be said for a lot of fighters. There's current world champions that we don't give that much respect to. Like, we could talk about Shakur, we could talk about Devin, we could talk about Tank. These are all world champions. We could talk about Inoue, world champion. And I see a lot of times they don't get the requisite respect that they are due. Now, is it because of personality? I don't know. But it's another way to stop and get rid of the stagnation in boxing is to look at the fighter and not the personality. And I struggle with that. I do struggle with that myself watching this sport. I struggle with trying to separate the personality and the boxer. For people who have been around here for a while, they know that I don't necessarily care for the Charlo brothers, which is true. Which is true. I necessarily don't. But I'm learning as I'm going through this more and more. The more and more I'm talking about it to myself, and the more and more I'm talking about it to you guys, it's separate the boxer from their personality. Separate the boxer from their personality. What do they do in that on that apron? What do they do? Are they good? Are they bad? Or are they subpar? And that's something that we got to get back to in the realm of boxing. All the talking stuff is cool. Talking shit is cool. It's good. Talking shit with your homeboys and all that different type of stuff about that's fine. That's dandy. I love it. I'm here for it. But with a critical eye of the sport and not the man or the lady, can we assess who these fighters are? Can we? We can look at their opponents, we can look at them, and we can look at the bout. And I'm here to say, I'm wrong. I've been wrong. I've been wrong about the way that I've analyzed boxing. What's good, bruh? I've been wrong with the way that I've assessed the sport of boxing. You need my number? Okay, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Give me just a second. But the sport of boxing, it's time for an overhaul. It's time for us to actually break down the fights. It's time for us to actually get in, look at these men and women, and not so much with a fine tooth comb, but with a comb altogether. What's going on 913? And just analyze the sport, analyze the bout. Fuck their personal life. Fuck their personal life. Because we're getting to the point to where if somebody does not like a fighter, they won't watch the bout. And I'm guilty of that. I am 100% guilty of that. And I want to apologize to the game of boxing. I want to apologize to the sport. I want to apologize to pugilism. Boxing is going on its 200th birthday, and not so many people know that. Boxing is about to be 200 years old. And I think I've done the sport a disservice by focusing on personality instead of the pugilist. I've done the sport a disservice. And I want to apologize to the sport of boxing for that. And from now on, no matter what I feel about a boxer, no matter what I think about a boxer, I'm going to keep that to myself, or I'm going to speak of it in private. But when I'm talking about the sport itself, I'm going to talk about the fighter. You ready for Canelo versus Charles? I am ready for it. I am ready for it. It's good for boxing because we're going to see a younger, well, I'm not going to say younger because they're pretty close in age, actually. I'm about to see a man get his chance at glory. That's a beautiful thing. Watching a man get his chance to cement himself in history. Watching a man get ready to cement himself as a giant, a titan in the sport forevermore. And that's on both sides. That's on both sides. Canelo has a chance to cement himself. Some say he's already cemented. Charlo has the opportunity to cement himself in the history books also as only being the third person ever to defeat Canelo Alvarez. That's beautiful. It's not as special as the first person or even the second person, but it's still special nonetheless because we know Canelo Alvarez by reputation. We know what Canelo Alvarez is. We know what Canelo Alvarez can do. We know Canelo. A lot of us have grown up into the sport watching Canelo. A lot of us have I'm not going to say idolized, but we've respected Canelo for what he has done. Daring to be great. Yes, daring to be great is absolutely it's 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 important in the sport. Boxing would not be great if it was not for daring to be great. And that's a way to fix the stagnation in boxing. To fix the stagnation in boxing, it starts with us, the analysts. Then it goes to the pundits, and then it goes to the actual fighters, and then it goes to the promotion companies. It's a 4-step program to get rid of the stagnation in boxing. Boxing has been stagnant because the people who are willing to take the chances get told no. Or if it's not being told no, it's at the fighter level to where it's almost as if, why should I fight you? Some will say that that's whole shit. I think it's more so of a mentality of trying to protect a legacy instead of putting your legacy on the line. Too many times I've seen fighters say, I didn't say that I wanted to fight him, or why is he calling me out? Why is this? Why is that? Because that's the sport. It comes a point to where the fighter that is daring to be great has to run into somebody who's willing to put their legacy on the line to submit their greatness. There's a difference between trying to be great and already being great. And that's what the apron is for. That's what getting between those 4 ropes is about. That's what those press conferences are about. That's what signing those contracts are about. That's what that ring walk is about. That's what that arduous 6 months to 8, whatever time training is about. It's about keeping your legacy or cementing your legacy. That's what the sport of boxing is about. And that's beautiful. And it's being taken away from us a lot of times because of shenanigans and stagnation. It has to stop. There has to come a point to where it has to stop. It has to come a point to where even us on the YouTube side, we've picked sides. We've picked sides when we should be completely unbiased. We should be completely neutral in the situation. But a lot of us have picked sides. And when you pick sides, there's a line in the sand. When it comes to our side of the boxing, there should be no lines in the sand. There should be none. We should speak on what we see. We should speak on how we feel about that bout. We should speak on what we see in this fighter and this fighter. We shouldn't speak about anything that we don't like, any of the idiosyncrasies that we see on their outside living. We shouldn't speak on that. That's none of our business. It's none of our business. I don't care what kind of case you have coming up. I don't care what's going on with you and your significant other. That's not my business. True enough, good stories help the sport of boxing. But it's becoming more apparent that there's no more good stories because people have picked sides. We have to get away from that. We have to get away from the side picking. We have to get away from the denigration. We have to. Because with that, I believe confidence is a real thing when it comes to the sport of boxing. Some people have confidence in themselves, and some people have to have outer sources give them the confidence to keep going and to keep pushing forward. But to do that, you have to be a fan of the sport. You have to. And too many times people are not a fan of the sport, they're just a fan of the men or the women in the sport. That has to change. It's okay to be a fan of somebody. That's a fanatic. That's where the word derives from, a fanatic. And that's okay. But you have to put things in perspective. That's something that's lacking, and that's something that can fix the stagnation in boxing. It's perspective. And speaking of perspective, Canelo Alvarez has been blaming his hand or hands, plural, for his recent outings and why they're not as great as they were. And excuses are fine as long as they're relevant. A relevant excuse is fine, but a bullshit one will never fly. A bullshit excuse will never fly. It's okay with daring to be great. We've established that. Daring to be great is quintessential to the sport. And before the Ryder fight, Canelo Alvarez went against Dimitri Bivol, and he lost. And that's okay. You're not going to win them all. You're not. You're not slated to win them all, which is true. I'm not speaking no lies. These are all facts. I think that loss did something to Canelo psychologically that is almost, irredeemable. But at the end of the day, the beautiful thing about boxing, you get another chance. Some people get another chance. And this is like the Ryder fight. Let's just erase that. Let's just erase the Ryder fight. Let's just erase the Ryder fight. And this is why I'm more so excited for the Canelo versus Charlo fight now. Because, like I said, for Charlo, it's to cement himself in history. It's almost a underdog tale that gets you excited. It gets you pumped to see a man who's never really had the big fight He's never really had the big fight. He's never really had the David and the Goliath moments. He's never really had, you know, the battle to test his mettle. He's never really had that. And then on the other hand, you have the redemption song. For those of you who love Bob Marley, I love that song, Redemption Song. This is a redemption arc. This is a redemption theme for Canelo. Are you still that wild and heavy knight? Are you still that guy? Are you? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's what fuels the sport of boxing. And as I think about it, I feel like a lot of times we get robbed of this. We get robbed of this. Like a month or so ago, we had Terrence Crawford versus Earl Spence. I would say it was a little too late to happen. I mean, we've been clamoring for it for 5 years. But outside sources who control narratives kind of stopped it until now. That's fine and dandy. We've already discussed that. We've already gone over that sheet by sheet by sheet. We've broken it down to its absolute bare bones. But this right here, I think is a little bit more special. Charlo versus Canelo is a little bit more special. And I love it because I got too wrapped up in narrative. I got too wrapped up in a lot of different things that don't matter. And I'm getting back to the source of what actually matters. And I'm finding my creativity. I'm finding my je ne sais quoi on the sport. And I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited because I get to see if this guy has it. And I'm getting to see if this guy still has it. That's beautiful. That is really fucking amazing. How often do we get to see this? Oh my God, it's breathtaking. So September 30th, I will be watching. September 30th, I will be a fan again. September 30th, I will be an analyst again. September 30th, I myself, John Lewis, Polo J, whatever you want to call me, I will be sitting on my hands in anticipation for the ring walk, for the weigh-in, for the press conference, for the rigmarole, the banter back and forth. I will be there for it. I'm not physically there because I ain't got the money for that. I ain't got the money for that right now. Shit's kind of different right now, but nevertheless, I will be excited again. You know, when we were kids, we couldn't wait for the new episode because a lot of kids don't know. New episodes of shows, you have to wait a week. You had to wait a week and you had to be there on time because they didn't show reruns. I'm excited for, like I was as a child, for that new episode of Power Rangers when they introduced the Green Ranger. And you had to wait a whole week just to see. That's where I'm at right now. I'm excited. I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic, ladies and gentlemen. I am ecstatic for Charlo and Canelo. Are you? Are you excited? Are my words hitting home for you? Do you have a preconceived notion about this fight already? Do you have a prejudice about this fight already? Do you have a biasness about this fight already? And if you do, can you call yourself a fan? Because we've established that stuff is what stagnates the sport. The thing that keeps the sport going is support. We have to support. We have to support our fighters. We have to support the sport. We have to support these networks, honestly, too. We have to support. That's where our power lies, is in the support. So are we willing to support an old lion versus a new lion? Are we willing to support a redemption arc? Are we willing to support a David versus Goliath fight? Are we willing to support these things? And if so, be ready for September 30th, because I am. This is Polo, and I'm out, y'all.